Welcome back to the deep dive. We're continuing our journey through the MPP, the Manual of Patent Examining Procedure. Think of this series as your guide, section by section.
Yep, breaking down that pretty dense material.
Today we're jumping into Chapter 1800. This is all about the Patent Cooperation Treaty, the PCT, handling those international applications.
Right, the global pathway.
And specifically, we're taking a deep dive into MPP Section 1823. That's the one covering the description in a PCT application.
A really fundamental part.
Exactly. So our mission today is to unpack what goes into that description. What do you absolutely need? Why is it structured like that? And, why does getting it right matter so much for international filings?
And everything we're discussing, it's pulled straight from the MEP excerpts for this deep dive.
Good point.
And you really can't overstate how crucial this description is. I mean, this one document is your foundation for patent protection in potentially, well, tons of countries.
Right.
If it's shaky from the start, you're just asking for trouble later on. It really is the bedrock.
Before we get in the weeds, a quick thank you, as always, to Mike Shepard, our creative director, for putting this whole MPPP audio series together.
Yes, thanks, Mike.
And the usual important disclaimer, this is for educational purposes. It's generated using AI tools, might have errors. It's definitely not legal advice.
Absolutely don't rely on this instead of the official MPP or, a real patent professional.
Please consult a registered practitioner for your specific situation.
Okay.
Right, let's start at the beginning. For a PCT application, what's the absolute core purpose of the description section, according to the rules? What are you trying to do?
Okay, so the fundamental requirement, this comes straight from PCT Article 5, and it's echoed in Rule 5, is that the description must disclose the invention clearly and completely.
Clear and complete. Okay.
Those are the key words. And the why behind it, the standard they use, is that it has to be clear and complete enough so that a person skilled in the art can carry out the invention.
Okay, hold on. Person skilled in the art. That sounds like patent law jargon, right? What does that actually mean in practice? And carry out the invention.
Yeah, it's a key term, often called facita or posita. It's not just, your average person off the street. It's someone with standard knowledge and skill in the specific technical field of your invention.
Like a typical engineer or researcher in that area.
Exactly. Someone who gets the basics, the common techniques in that field. And carry out the invention, this is critical. It means your description has to give them enough information, enough detail, context specifics, so that this skilled person, without having to invent something new themselves or do tons of trial and error, what we call undue experimentation,
right,
they could actually take what you wrote and make or use your invention. This ties directly into the idea of enablement. Your description enables them.
So you can't just say, I made a faster widget. You have to explain how it's faster, the materials, how you build it, maybe operating details.
Precisely. Enough for that skilled person, that competent engineer, to read it and actually build or run your widget.
Okay.
You're giving them the technical blueprint. And remember, for a PCT application, this single description is going before examiners and the public in potentially dozens of countries.
So that standard needs to hold up everywhere.
Exactly. If it's not clear enough, not complete enough. If it doesn't enable, that's a fundamental flaw. It can kill your patent chances later on in the national phase in any of those countries.
Okay, so the purpose is clear. Enable the skilled person. How do you actually do that in the document? Section 1823 lays out a specific structure, doesn't it? It's not just a free-for-all description.
That's right. For consistency and clarity across borders, there's a preferred structure. It's, highly recommended, let's say. Standard practice, really. It ensures you cover all the bases.
So what are these key parts? Walk us through them.
Okay, starting right at the top. First, the title of the invention. Seems obvious, but it has to be the exact same title as on your PCT request form. Consistency matters.
Okay, title first.
Next up, technical field. Usually just a short bit defining the general area. Is this biotech, telecom, mechanical devices? Just sets the scene.
Got it.
Then, background art. This is where you talk about the existing technology. What's already out there? What are its problems or limitations? You're basically explaining why your invention is needed. Context.
Okay, makes sense. Laying the groundwork.
Exactly. After that comes the disclosure of invention, or maybe more commonly, summary of invention. This is really important. You state the technical problem your invention solves, and then you clearly explain how it solves it. It's a summary, yes, but it needs the core idea, the inventive concept and its advantages.
The what and why.
Right. Then, if you have drawings, and most applications do, especially mechanical or electrical ones,
Yeah.
you need a brief description of drawings. For every single figure, you need a short sentence saying what it shows. Figure 1 is a side view. Figure 2 shows the circuit diagram, things like that. You can get objections if these descriptions are missing or don't match the drawings.
Okay, describe every drawing.
Then there's the best mode for carrying out the invention. This is where you describe one or more specific ways or embodiments to actually make or use your invention. Detailed examples often go here. Now, there's a nuance here. The PCT itself requires describing a way to carry out the invention, but national laws, like here in the US, might have stricter rules about disclosing the best way the inventor knew at the time. It's complex, but you need to describe at least one solid implementation.
Right, the best mode requirement.
And finally, industrial applicability. You need to explain how the invention can be made or used in some industry. Show its practical use, its utility, what's it good for in the real world.
That is a very specific structure. You said the order is highly recommended, but maybe not absolutely rigid. When might you change it?
Good point. The MPP does say that sometimes sticking to that exact order might actually make things less clear or maybe just clunkier. So deviations are allowed if it genuinely helps understanding or makes the format more economical.
But generally stick to the script.
Generally, yes. Stick to the prescribed order unless you have a really solid technical reason not to. Going off-piste without a good reason might just confuse people and slow things down.
Are there other formatting things, like headings?
Yes. Section 204 of the PCT Administrative Instructions suggests preferred headings, like using bold or underlines. And Section 209 covers optional sheets, like if you have, say, deposited biological material. That needs a specific format. The aim is standardization. Makes life easier for everyone.
Okay, let's make it real. That water filtration device example you mentioned earlier, how would that fit this structure?
Right, the water filter. Okay.
Right.
The title would be simple. Improved water filtration device, or something similar.
This invention relates to water purification, specifically filters, something like that. Background art. Here you'd talk about current filters, maybe carbon filters, reverse osmosis. Mention their drawbacks: slow, expensive, miss certain things, need maintenance. Sets up the problem. Disclosure summary. Then you'd explain your solution. Maybe it's the new material that grabs more contaminants, or a design for faster flow. You summarize the key innovation.
Okay.
Brief description of drawings. If you have diagrams of the filter layers, the housing, you'd list them. Figure 1 is a cross-section, Figure 2 shows the cartridge, etc.
Makes sense.
Best mode. This is where you get specific. Describe the exact filter material composition, maybe dimensions, how it's made, how it connects, perhaps even include test results showing it works better. Enough detail for someone skilled to build it.
The how-to.
Exactly. And industrial applicability. Discuss where it can be used. Applicable for homes, city water systems, portable filters. Show its practical value.
That really helps visualize it. Now, you also mentioned something specific for genetic sequence listings. What's that about? It sounds specialized.
It absolutely is. And very strict rules apply. PCT Rule 5.2 deals with inventions involving nucleotide sequences like DNA or RNA or amino acid sequences, proteins. Because these sequences can be incredibly long and numerous, and they need to be searched electronically across the globe, they must be in a standardized format.
A special format.
Yes, called a sequence listing. And it's treated as a separate part of the description, not just mixed into the text. It has a very defined structure itself.
And there's an international standard for this.
Correct. Set by WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization. The current standard for applications filed July 1st, 2022 or later is ST.26. This requires the listing to be in XML format.
XML, like for web data.
Sort of, yeah. It's a structured data format, good for computers to read and exchange. Before that date, the standard was ST.25, which used a specific text format.
So separate file, specific format, filed electronically.
Exactly. And an interesting point, which can differ from some national practices, under PCT Rule 5.2, you don't actually need a separate statement in the main description formally incorporating the sequence listing by reference. The rule itself says a compliant listing is part of the description.
Ah, okay, so it's automatically included if done right. What if you mess it up, forget it, or it's not compliant?
Yeah, that's where you can run into trouble. And expense. If it's missing or it doesn't meet the standard, the ISA, the International Searching Authority.
The ones who do the initial search.
Right, or the IPCA, the International Preliminary Examining Authority. If you go for that step, they'll likely send you an invitation. They'll say, hey, you need to provide a compliant listing. And there's usually a deadline.
And a fee.
Often, yes. A late furnishing fee under PCT Rule 13 ter. And if you still don't provide a compliant listing on time, They might just limit their search or examination.
How so?
They might say, okay, we can only search or examine the parts of your invention that we can understand without relying on this sequence information. That could seriously limit the scope of your international reports.
Ouch. Okay, so the clear advice is,
Best practice, hands down. Prepare a fully compliant ST.26 sequence listing for current filings and submit it with the application right on the filing date. Avoids the hassle, the fees, the potential limitations.
are there common technical mistakes people make with these listings beyond just forgetting it?
Oh, definitely. ST.2066 is detailed. Errors can include using the wrong symbols, formatting issues, but a big one is incorrectly describing modified sequences. Like if you have a modified DNA base, the standard says you list the standard base in the main sequence part, and then you describe the modification and where it is in a separate feature section. You don't just change the letter in the sequence itself. Getting that wrong is a compliance issue. Also, sometimes statements verifying the electronic file match any paper version, if needed, might be missing. Needs care.
Wow. Okay, this is all incredibly detailed. It sounds like a lot of work.
Oh.
The structure, the enablement language, getting these sequence listings perfect. Why? What's the big picture payoff for the applicant?
This is the absolute key takeaway. The strategic reason. Remember, the PCT is like a gateway to filing in many individual countries.
Right, the national phase.
Exactly. When your application enters the national phase in the US, Europe, Japan, wherever, the description you filed way back with the PCT is the document they start with.
Ah.
So, sweating the details now. Clarity, completeness, structure, sequence listings minimizes objections later from all those different national patent offices.
And avoiding objections later is important because
of the dreaded new matter rule. This is fundamental pretty much everywhere. You generally cannot add new technical information to your application after you filed it.
define new matter.
Is any technical detail that wasn't already in your application description, claims, drawings as it was originally filed.
Yeah.
Either explicitly stated or, implicitly obvious from what was there.
Give me an example with the water filter.
Okay, say your original description talks about a polymer filter material. Later, in the U.S. national phase, you realize you need to specify that the polymer has pores between 0.1 and 0.5 micrometers to get around some prior art. If that specific range wasn't mentioned anywhere in your original filing, not in an example, not implied trying to add it now, that's likely new matter.
And if you add new matter,
Big problems. The examiner will reject it. You might have to remove it. And even if a patent somehow gets granted with new matter in it, someone can challenge it later in court and potentially get the whole patent invalidated.
so getting the description right at the PCT stage is critical because you basically can't fix omissions later if they count as new matter.
Precisely. A complete, enabling, properly structured description filed initially gives you the support you need for the claims you want to pursue later in all those countries. It's your one best shot to get everything in there. Saves time, money, and avoids potentially fatal flaws.
Wow, yeah. That really hammers home the importance. It's not just rules for rules' sake. It's about building a solid global foundation.
Exactly right. These technical rules, they're the tools you use to define your invention so it can be understood and protected universally. The care you put into this description directly impacts your success down the road.
Okay, so let's recap. We've unpacked MPP Section 1823 on the PCT description. We hit the core purpose, enabling that skilled person. We went through the required structure, title, field, background, disclosure, drawings, best mode, applicability.
Right, the standard sections.
We covered the very specific rules for sequence listings, ST Part 26 XML now, separate part, file it up front, and crucially, why getting all this right from the start is vital for the national phase, avoiding those fatal new matter problems.
And maybe a final thought to leave folks with. Think about drafting not just to meet the rules, but to proactively answer the questions an examiner anywhere in the world might have. Tell the story so clearly and completely it stands up everywhere.
Good advice. And one last time, the important reminder, this is educational info, not legal advice. Please consult the official MPP or a registered patent practitioner. Seriously, talk to a pro.
Please do.
And thanks again to Mike Shepard for organizing this series.
Yep, thanks, Mike.
That wraps up our deep dive into MPP Section 1823. Keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll catch you on the next one.